Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Hot Mic Show. I'm Bill Whittle, and we've got our guests today are the chicks on the right, Mock and Daisy, Miriam and Amy, and we've been talking about identity politics and the way the left will put people into tribes so that they can divide the country and basically split its foundations. Ladies, it seems to me that feminism has mutated into something pretty ugly, and a lot of left-wing institutions have. There was a time when I think any rational, decent person was a feminist. You know, the idea that women could have their own jobs, their own property, the vote, equal pay for equal work, all of this. I don't know a single conservative who disagrees with any of this stuff. But it seems to me now that as the real injustices of the world are slowly eliminated, they have to find synthetic injustices and mine a little deeper. To the point where it seems to me now, and I'd just like to get your take on this, it seems to me that modern feminism as it exists is pretty much a complete inversion of femininity as it's understood.
Yeah. I mean, you got to cut your hair and talk about how you want to free the nipple, and yeah, I want you to pay for my tampons, and it's ridiculous. It's a joke.
We want to be as far away from that label as possible, and that's unfortunate because you're right. It started out with a great bang, and the first wave feminists did amazing things for women as a whole, but now it's an embarrassment. It's become an embarrassment, and we want nothing to do with the label. And the Women's March is a perfect example. In fact, we just wrote a column for the Indianapolis Star recently about the founders of the Women's March, who are just, they're commie whack jobs.
Yeah, they're vile.
And it doesn't even matter to the women who follow them that the founders look up to people like Louis Farrakhan. And I'm thinking, how do they not see the disconnect? It's amazing.
I mean, when you have Linda Sarsour, who is one of the organizers of this, and people are making excuses for this woman. I mean, it's unreal for people to want to be connected with her in any way. It's vile.
Well, let me ask you, if we just say that you guys are champions of kind of the conservative view of melting pot America, and you are, how do you see the difference? The left sees women in a certain way, and you see women in a certain way. Can you set up what the difference is in terms of how you see what used to be known as the fairer sex and now is probably known as the...
That's sexist, Bill.
Who are we to judge sex?
I think that the number one thing, at least for me, we probably agree on this, is I don't see myself as a victim.
Yeah.
And I don't raise my girls to be victims. I mean, I have every opportunity that my husband does. And I can do anything that he can. With the exception of, I don't know, a few things that I probably can't say, you know, on your show. But I can do anything that he can. And when it comes to owning businesses and doing anything professional, anything in the world that I want to do, I have every opportunity that he has. And and you know what? I don't limit myself, and I don't feel like a victim, and I don't go through life feeling like a victim. And I think that is the biggest difference between, you know, us and liberal women, is they try to find ways and reasons to be victims and victimized, and oh, woe is me, and who can I sue?
And they're constantly looking for reasons to be offended, and it's such a mystery to me. You probably saw the viral video of Ashley Judd complaining about being called sweetheart and having her dress complimented.
Ridiculous.
In an airport recently, and we were just, why would you interpret someone's kindness as some display of rampant sexism? But this is the mentality of these women.
And then try to have that person fired?
What is insane?
What is wrong with you?
Insane.
Yeah, it's well, there's some really interesting study done recently that basically says that people who show this kind of fanatical obsession with other people's behaviors are in fact doing it to cover up for their own lack of morality, and it's easier to criticize somebody else's guilt than it is to examine your own. Real quick, guys, because we're almost done, what about the difference between the way you see men and the way that the progressive left sees men?
We love men.
We like real men.
Yeah. I mean, we could do without the man buns.
Right.
That's a little bit weird.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, not really sure why they want to look like soccer moms.
But there's a huge push right now to emasculate men.
Yeah.
And it comes from this whole, you know, third wave, fourth wave feminism.
And we're not fans of that. Why do we want to emasculate? We love men.
And we love the differences between men and women, and those should be celebrated. And now the lines are getting blurry, and I don't know why we want that to be a thing.
We like men. Men.
Like you.
Like you.
Aren't you kind? You know, it's really That's really it. And I think that's why conservatives are consistently found to be just so much happier than these progressives. We don't see this as a war, and we don't see this as anything like a war or a contest. And as I was reminded from one of the ads during the break, the only race thing that we care about is NASCAR, and that's the difference between us and them. They simply cannot imagine that people could be comfortable and not be victims, because victimhood is what they sell. That's their product. That's what they sell. Ladies, it's been so much fun to have you on here. I know we're going to have you back on again real soon. Thanks so much for being with us. That's Miriam Weaver or Macarena and Amy Jo Clark, known as Daisy. They're Chicks on the Right. And they've got a book that's really kind of cool called Right for a Reason. And thanks so much for being with us today, guys. We'll see you real soon.
Thank you. It was great to see
Thank you so much for having us.
My absolute pleasure. It's really fun. I met those two ladies when I was in Indianapolis quite early in my career. I want to say around 2010 at a Tea Party rally, and they're just unbelievable. The energy that they show on the show, they just got it all the time. I don't know what they're using for fuel, but I want some. They're absolute warriors out there. So what do we do about all of this? Well, I think it was Mock who was really on it, and that is, you have to fight back. This idea that we're not going to descend to their level and we're not going to argue with them about things that we know to be true is just, it doesn't work. You can't absent yourself from this fight. So many people say, I want nothing to do with politics, and believe it or not, I'm with you, but I don't care about politics, but politics cares about me. And there's no walking away from it. The fight is in the pop culture. The fight is taking place over water coolers. The fight's taking place on Facebook. This is where the story goes. We have two different stories, and the question is, which one is true and which one can you sell? I happen to think it's easier to sell the truth. As they said, these women don't think of themselves as victims. You know why they don't think of themselves as victims? You know why they don't protest 24 hours a day about their victimhood? You know why? Because they're too busy being a success. That's why. They don't have the time for it. They don't have the time to go out there and whine and complain about things that happened 70 years ago or 100 years ago. They're busy with a business that's just kicking butt, and they're making a difference. So I would just say to all of you out there, you cannot walk away from the argument. There's no walking away from this fight. This fight is in the culture. It's the first time in this country's history, and I think that's why we're struggling so much. We know how to fight conventional wars rather well. We've had some experience at it, and we know the price of defending our freedom in that regard. I don't think we're prepared to spend those kind of resources, emotional and financial, to defend freedom against people who use images and stories. But I can assure you that as a student of history, I am far more worried about the progressives than I ever imagined I could be over Nazis or Japanese imperialists or German imperialists or Confederates or the British Army or any of that. Anyway, that's it for the Hot Mic Show for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you right here tomorrow on NRATV.